So welcome to the field prep video. In this video, in the next series of videos, we will be covering how to update HEMApp on the HEM v3, how to check if HEMApp is running, updating the HEMApp, starting and stopping the HEMApp. So HEMApp. So let's first look at the GitLab repository for this project and look at some of the key repositories that we should keep in mind. So the software, the source files are in HEMApp. As far as possible in the field, we have tried not to include the source files on the embedded device and only have the executable. But if there are source files, then we have to take them out. The executables are in this directory here. If you are a developer on this project, you should have access to it. I think it's also public, so let me check if it is public. So this project can be accessed without any authentication. So you don't need to set up SSH, you don't need to download any keys on BeagleBone on your computer, none of that stuff. And you should be able to just download this project and run it. So this has all the executables, and as we make new changes, we will push new executables to this. This has to be done in a better way, but this is a hack for now. Okay, so let's now look into BeagleBone. So I'm going to log into a HEM system. So you do HEM. So if you're logging into HEM through Ethernet, so you will be using the IP that is assigned by the router. In this case, it is SSH HEM at 1.2. That's the IP associated assigned by the router. If you are logging through the USB, so if you don't have a router, if there's no connectivity and you're logging through USB, which means you have a USB connection between your computer and the BeagleBone, you'll have to use the static IP, which is 192.168.7.2. I think. Let me quickly look at it. Was it 7.2? Okay, so 7.2. So you have to press this login. This should happen. This should work. The other way you can do it is by having a router and taking a router with you and assigning over Ethernet. Sometimes USB if it's finicky. There's no pause. Okay, so the question is, one of the ways you can connect is through the SSH over USB, but the other way you can do it is SSH over the router or over Ethernet.
Okay.
So the question is how to do it and why to do it. One of the things we found out was connecting to BeagleBone over Ethernet was much more stable than USB. We had some issues where the USB was not detected. So how do you do it in a remote location? Using a router. So you have, so this is your router, and this is your laptop. Connect Ethernet. This is power, and as soon as you power the router, you can log into the router through its default login and see what's happening. You don't, and then what you can do is you can connect the BeagleBone here through Ethernet.
So I need two Ethernet cables.
You need two Ethernet cables. So this is Ethernet and this is Ethernet. So then what happens is the router, even if it does not have connectivity, it assigns a local IP. And we found that this is much more stable.
So it's basically like a hub where you connect both physically.
It's not a hub, but yeah. From a networking term, it's not a hub, but yeah. Because if you just put a hub, it will not work. You need something that assigns IP. So it has to be managed, not unmanaged. And the other thing is, if you take a router from US, it should work in India too. All you need to change is the adapter. Because those are all DC, the power adapter.
Okay, and what is DC?
The router is DC, right? So if you, I think it's 12 volts DC or 18 volts DC. So you can just get an Indian adapter from Indian routers and connect it to the US one. So take a US router. Powering the US router will be tricky, right, in India. So just change the adapter is what I'm saying.
Okay. So I should buy an adapter to power the router over here?
Yeah. In India, yeah. It's one of those common adapters you get in those electronic shops.
No, so it's not just like a passive device, right? It scales down the voltage because American routers will work at 110 volts AC.
No, it's a DC device.
Oh, okay.
Router
so
is a DC device.
You're saying I should do 230 volts to 12 volt or whatever.
Yeah, and they'll work, yeah. You just need that common adapter. Like we bought a Ethernet switch from here and installed it in NIE. All we needed was that cable. Yeah, so you'll need a power adapter here. Does that make sense? So this is one. So this is one way of doing it, and the other way of doing it is this: you laptop, and then BeagleBone here.
USB.
Yeah. So this is USB. This is mini USB. That's important. So you need to take mini USB cables, and this is your laptop. Okay, so coming back. Okay, so let's log into BeagleBone. So every BeagleBone, the way you log in is by HEM. We have changed the default login that was given by the BeagleBone Black company. We have changed it to HEM, right? You're usually using Debian or something like that. So you have to log in through this. And then you know what the password is. So as soon as you log in, if the display is showing the HEMApp, then the HEMApp is running. And the way that you can kind of double check is executing this command. And you'll see that this particular process here shows that the HEMApp is running. Okay. This one here. There should also be a process which is uploading data to the cloud, and let me see what that's called. So Hem Cloud Client is the repository that contains the software that is used to upload the data to the cloud and also manage the GSM device. We modified some of this for the Saline stuff, but this is the script that runs on the field deployments or the deployed setups in the field in India. So you need the HEMApp. You need the so there are two pieces of software that you need. You need the HEMApp that does all the basic upkeep, and then you need this client, cloud client, which is taking data that is aggregated by the HEMApp and then pushing it to the cloud. So the cloud is here. HEMApp is aggregating data from all the sources. These two are communicating through that toolkit that we wrote, and the cloud client is then talking to the cloud and pushing data every 5 seconds or so. So this is the architecture. So when for a successful deployment, both of these things should work.
Can you go back to the file that is related to the
Yeah. So this is the Hem Cloud client. I might make some changes to this based on some of the things we learned over the last couple of. This is like 9 months old, so I might make changes, but this will be the repository.
So which is the main file that?
Yeah. So if you look at setup.sh, usually you start with setup.sh. It sets up everything. It sets up two services: Hem Cloud service, Hem Cellular service, and it enables a service and it restarts. This thing should already be running. So let's look at the Hem Cloud service. So the Hem Cloud service will tell you what script it's running. So in this case, it's running gsm start.sh, which is this file here. Right. So what it's basically doing is it's ensuring that if there is internet connectivity, if there is internet connectivity, log it, no connectivity, wait for some time, restart it, and do this for a couple of times a day. So that only does cellular. That only ensures the cellular connectivity is on or off, the module is on or off, and things like that. The thing that uploads is this Hem Cloud service. So let's look at this Hem Cloud service. The script that it runs is called Energy Manager, which is here. Right. And then it only calls, it creates a new object called Hem Cloud Client. Which is this. So the Energy Manager is just a wrapper around this class here. So what this is doing is it's sending data to our client, to our cloud server, and it's sending us DC power and DC volt. One of the things is that this thing might change based on whether it's how the loads have been connected. So this is something that has to be taken into account. Like, PV is 0 here, charger is 1, and that might change based on the location.
So did you change this for each?
Yeah, once we downloaded it, we changed it.
So, but the way we've done it here at Wimpec is we have one config file.
Yeah, so
does not
modify the So if there's enough time, I might do it that way.
Yeah. Okay. But I was just asking.
Yeah, but yeah. So as of now, this is what this is doing. But ideally, I would like to hopefully before you install it, I only have a config file which does that. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah. So obviously here at Wimpec, that is not the Hem Cloud is not running, or at least that variation of Hem Cloud is not running. But we have a different we have something similar for our experiments. our case, we have cloud.py.
Hmm.
So energy manager cloud.py is the same thing. I might try to see if I can.
Okay. So do I need to know all these names when I like what contains what? Like energy manager contains the cloud stuff, and there are many other set of files and other stuff, or will it be like a procedure that I have to follow, just write down?
I don't think so. I think whatever info you need will be in this video. Not only that, I'll also add it in the README here.
Okay.
Okay. So those are the two things to see if they're running or not, and based on
Sorry, but which command did you use to so psaux grep what for the cloud stuff?
it would be grep cloud. In the field case, it will be energy manager or something. Something like that. Yeah. So whatever I'm explaining right now, I'll have maybe some README on in the two repositories. One is the HEMApp bin, and the other is the um, HEM cloud client.
Cloud client, yeah.
So I'll have READMEs on what to check and what commands to execute in case there is no connectivity and you want to check on your phone. So those are the two things. So we were able to log in. We checked if HEMApp is running. We checked if the cloud client is running. And the next thing is figuring how to update HEMApp. So we need to, if we are updating HEMApp, we need to stop the current HEMApp service. So we do this by sudo systemcdl stop. Okay, I forgot the name of the service.
Is there any way you can log in from here to the system at Kanan or your house or Sam's house or guest? If we go there and if I have TeamViewer.
I can, yeah.
Now in case, I mean.
We should also have OpenVPN installed.
I think that should be done because, okay, let's see. Continue.
Okay, so the name of the service is hem init hem underscore init service. So I'm going to first check the status of this service. So this is the service that runs HEMApp. Okay, so it's done a bunch of things. It's sending data. The API is being pulled. It says that it's running, right? And it's been active since 2 days ago.
Why did we do this?
This is just to check the status of the system. We want to stop it now because we are upgrading it, but before we stop it, it's just a good practice to see if it's active or stopped, there's an error or whatever that is. And it has been running, it's been active for 2 days.
Okay.
It'll also be interesting to see, for you to run this and see how long the HEMApp has been active. If it was been active for like 3 months, then the system has not restarted in 3 months, which is very unlikely given our reliability. Anyways.
So there, when we have, does the HEMApp restart or does the Beagle one restart?
So yeah, I'll tell you. So the HEMApp has a watchdog timer, right? And if the thread of the watchdog timer does not get executed every 30 seconds or so, the the HEMApp assumes that the BeagleBone is stuck, or it's hung, or whatever that thing is, and it'll restart BeagleBone.
And then restarting BeagleBone
Will restart the
automatically.
service. Yeah. So anything which you have as a service in Linux, if you've enabled it, it runs on startup.
Okay.
And there is a time gap. We have some insane time delay that we have hard coded. Yeah.
But then I noticed that sometime rebooting the BeagleBone here at OnePack did not start HEMApp.
That's possible when you have not enabled the service.
Okay.
Yeah. On startup. Yeah. So this command again gives you. I'll again add all of these commands. You don't have to.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
I write it and understand.
This is the thing that checks whether the system is running or not. So the next thing is you can stop this. Stop hem. So I stopped it, which means my display should no longer run the HEMApp, right? So now let me check the status again. It says the service has been loaded, but it's inactive, right? Which makes sense. So then it's also giving me a prompt which says stopped HEMApp initialization service, right? So now let's check how to upgrade HEMApp. Usually when you do ls in this location, which is home hem, you should not see anything. Maybe you should just see hem cloud client, but all of this stuff is kind of our WebPack work. You should not see an HEMApp folder here
because those are the source files.
So we have stored all our executables in /var/bin, which is where most of the executables are stored. /var, where did I do it? Lib, I think. Okay, so /var/lib is where you'll see HEMApp bin, which is the executable. Here you'll see the main executable is HEMApp. There are some dependencies, there are some logs, it's logging crap. So let's look at maybe the last times it was restarted. So it'll be interesting to even for you to see when it was restarted. It looked like before December 22nd, it was restarted on 7th of December. It had a bunch of restarts on 3rd, bunch of restarts on 2nd. Yeah, so we were running experiments. So it'll be interesting for you to see. So for me to document, I'll just look at your notes and see what all has to be documented.
Yeah, stuff has been highlighted, for example, stuff to be bought or taken to Kanana, like the USB cable, and then if you have to install something and if you have to check stuff.
So the commands, just highlight the commands, or just let me know where you write down the commands. So in my README, I'll make sure I have all those commands. So are you writing down all the commands? Yeah, you have this.
Most of them.
Okay.
I have a command to stop the service, but I didn't copy this, so you have to enter.
Okay, then make a note which says command or something like that, so I know that it's not some notes you've written. So how to check the log for HEMApp bin? That's a command. Check logs. So one of the easiest ways for you to do is just remove HEMApp bin. Just delete it. Restart. Okay, so that brings me to a point that you cannot, service has to be disabled. It has to be stopped and then disabled. Otherwise, it'll think that the watchdog timer is.
So it will start again.
Yeah, it'll restart the BeagleBone. So that's a good thing to.
Wait, I didn't get this.
So in services, there are two things. There is stop. There is there is stop, start, restart. Okay. So so you have start, stop, restart, and then you have enable, disable. So for you to completely disable the service, you'll have to disable it. Start, stop are kind of
things that can be considered as
like a pause kind of thing almost. So when BeagleBone sees stop, I think it sees that the HEMApp is no longer running. So it knows that so when you do start, stop, restart, the service has still been enabled, but it's not active. Whereas when you do disable, the service is completely disabled. So the HEMApp no longer thinks that it's supposed to be on, which is why now it restarted. So one of the things we can do to check this theory is so you'll see that it's broken pipe. So one of the things is, I think HEMApp is back and up and running. So let's check. No, init service. So it's active and running. So what I'll do is I'll stop, and then what I'll do is I'll disable. I have to do it possibly within 30 seconds or something.
Then maybe you should add that.
Mm-hmm.
You could add that as a note with the command.
Yeah. So now I've stopped it. So let's check if HEMApp is running through PSAux. No, right? So it stopped everything. Okay. What's the so yeah? So now we stopped. We go back to. So easiest way for you to do it maybe RM, RF, and HEMApp bin.
That's for deleting.
Yeah, so you can completely delete the HEMApp. That'll be the easiest way. And then once you delete it, you again install it by just doing git clone this directory here.
Is there anything that is specific to a particular system
Yeah.
in HEMApp bin that I'll have to change?
Yeah, so you'll do git clone, right? And this will download a new thing. And then once you download that, you'll go to, okay, let's say we downloaded it. We go to supportware, and then we have to edit the home.ini file. So the home.ini file has a thing called DC system.
So by default it's DC?
By default it's AC, I think. So it'll be 0, so you have to change it to 1. And there's also a time thing here that is missing in this file. So let me go, I think maybe that was deleted. So let's look at what is there here.
What was this file called again?
Home.ini in supportware. So say by default, so this is on the central repository, this is the default file. So you'll see the DC system is 0. So just make it 1. And also we have a time thing. I'll just check where that went.
What is the time?
The local time zone. It sets the time zone. Otherwise it'll be, yeah.
So does it, but then how does it get to know the local time zone from the time zone of the laptop? Because you don't necessarily have like a
Connectivity.
yeah. Or does it have stored local time zone? Like you just have like a number and then you put it like for GMT plus 6.5 whatever India is.
If the time is correct, then it has stored time zones. If the time on BeagleBone is screwed up, then it's a problem. But if you are connecting over Ethernet and things like that, there's a chance that it might sync the time. Yeah.
With the laptop.
Possibly. Yeah. Okay, so you do that. Okay, and once you do that, you restart it again.
You disabled it, right?
I did disable it. Why? It's weird. Did I disable it? Active disable. I did disable it. Is there anything else which is restarting it now?
Is the cloud or Solene stuff doing something?
Yeah.
Solene is killed, I mean.
Yeah, Solene is killed. So the BeagleBone restarted after disabling the service, and the HEMApp is not running now. I'm not quite sure why it restarted after disabling the service. It's not restarting again, so it was a one-off restart. Anyways, we'll figure that out. So where were we?
We were
Disable the HEMApp.
Then you were talking about so we were talking about deleting the folder,
Mm-hmm.
then cloning the repository,
Mm-hmm.
and then how to edit home.ini
Mm-hmm.
and what to edit in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we ended at the time zones.
Okay, so after that, what you'll have to do is you'll have to download the HemCloud client. So this is again git clone, and then going back.
So wait, I have to download the HEMApp client. It won't be there already.
It will be there.
But you're going to make changes. So
I'm going to make so you can delete it and create a new one. I'll let you know how it goes, because if it's a completely new thing, you might be better off just deleting and downloading. If it's just incremental changes, you can just do a git pull. So HemCloud client, you download it. You'll have to. I'll have more instructions on how to modify this based on the changes that I make. So the next thing is copying data from the BeagleBone. So the data is going to be here in /media/card. You'll just have to copy it to your desktop.
So I connect to the IP using that connect server option in my file explorer.
Yeah.
And I copy stuff.
Or you can do SCP. SCP.
Yeah, I think I'll need. I forgot all those.
Yeah. I'll have instructions. Yeah, put a command on SCP. I'll add a command on how to copy it. If you go to BeagleBone and you log in and you log into /media and you don't see anything, you'll have to create a new directory called card. Make their card. So the HEMApp automatically adds data to this inside the directory, this thing called these two files, right? But if it does not have the directory card, it does not create those data files.
So then there won't be any if there is no directory called card, then there's no data.
Yeah, and I think that I think I might have fixed it in the support where it creates. Let me look at this. Init, I think. Yeah, it just assumes that there is a card, so yeah, check if the card directory exists. I think it should exist. What else?
Um, how to add him to the new dashboard.
I think I'll have to look into that and then make the video.
Okay.
So I've forgotten what to how to add.
I think